Make sure sound balance is alright. Hey everyone, this is Rune, otherwise known as Runetic on Reddit. Runetic5 on Reddit. With me today is Shweet44722, otherwise known as Adam, who's now moved to Edmonton. Congratulations on improving. And with me on my right is James, who's lazily enjoying our effectively Sunday mornings, considering we woke up far later than we initially anticipated. Anyway, we apologize for missing last week's cast. Some issues came up regarding personal lives and whatnot, but we're back on. And the title of Oil Drop Podcast number 64 is "Oh No, We Suck Again." And technically, because we've already used this title once before, we suck again. Basically, the Oilers, at this point in time, have lost 5 of their last 6 games. And when I say lost, I'm talking by a considerable margin. It is, off the top of my head, 21 goals to 8 in the losses. It is horrendously bad, and it seems as though everything's going wrong. Adam, what do you think's going wrong right now? Or is it perhaps the average catching up with the Oilers?
I think it's a bit of both, if you look at it, really. We started with a horrible schedule against incredibly difficult teams. We played surprisingly well. And we've kind of come back down to earth a little bit. But at the same time, it's worth noting, I think that beginning the schedule may have had more of an impact on overall team readiness for games than we anticipated. More so that all the travel finally caught up with them, and going on the road for a single game, coming back home is going, doesn't really help a whole lot. The schedule's been fucky, to say the least. Game 17, last night was the first time the Oilers have played a Pacific Division team this year, which I believe is the latest start to play a Pacific Division team we've ever had. It's the travel schedule's been brutal. With that said, the team hasn't played well as a whole. Basically, what we've done is we've had 20 minutes or 40 minutes of good hockey, but we haven't played a full good game yet. Like -1. We've had one good game in the last about 10. And it's caught up to us at this point. We're losing games because of all the compounding issues. Our power play penalty kill aren't good enough again, and that's not helping much either.
Mm-hmm. James, any input there?
I don't know. Top heavy team that actually isn't that heavy on top. I don't know. Like, the secondary scoring is there sometimes, but then other days it's completely non-existent. It must be really frustrating to be McDavid. That's all I can say.
Yeah. On that point, I'm just looking up power play penalty kill stats. Last time we tuned in was about 3 weeks ago, and we were praising the Oilers for an excellent power play and an excellent penalty kill, or an average-ish penalty kill that was looking to get better. The penalty kill has now fallen further. It's getting progressively worse. Power play has dropped to below 20% to be the 15th in the league, and the penalty kill is an astonishing 26th in the league, tied, or even worse, actually no, never mind, tied with the Chicago Blackhawks at 25th in the league. Excuse me.
Yikes.
It's a solid yikes for me, dog. And it is just, I guess, from that point, I think one of the biggest issues that we've been having is, I would say we've had a lot of defensive collapses and issues in front of the net, and we would rely on Talbot and Koskinen to be bailing us out on those. But it seems as though this time around, they're just not able to. Perhaps it's, teams have caught on in terms of how to catch out the Oilers in certain circumstances, how to make sure that, they can capitalize on the defensive collapses, but it always feels as though whenever the Oilers have the puck in the offensive zone, it never feels as threatening as when the opposing team has it in our zone.
Totally. I was thinking that last night while watching the Calgary game. The third period, obviously, that one sticks out. But
the third period, when you play the best third period team in hockey and you give that much of effort, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
And as much as you can blame Todd for the coaching blunders,
I do. Yesterday, I do.
No, I don't 100% say that.
Why is Lucic on the first line of the third period?
That did seem to work a bit for the beginning.
It didn't work halfway through the period, and the second line got cranked out, and the third and fourth lines weren't helping.
Yes.
What kind of adjustments are you making if every adjustment you make is not going well?
Well, what do you do, Adam? Who do you put in that top line instead of Lucic?
Anyone other than
Kajula's
Kajula
not
and
scoring.
Lucic? I don't know. Run your big three for 5 minutes.
She hasn't finally scored for the first time in like 7 games.
When we're stuck at this point, Ryan fucking Spooner.
Tobias Reeder is like turned stone cold. Who do you put? You have no wingers. When you have no wingers to speak of, what do you do?
We have. Well, that's the point. We have no depth.
I understand that. Simultaneously, everyone is going off and like mouthing off about McClellan, but at the same time, it's like, why can't our second line score? Why is it when the second line scores, the only circumstance where they're scoring is when Nugent Hopkins has to carry the puck into the opposing zone and snipe it, like he did in the Canadiens game? Why can't the second line score? Why can't the third line score? Why is it when the fourth line scores, they also put up enough defensive mistakes that they allow 3 goals?
McClellan's going to get fired. Let's be real. If they lose tonight, McClellan will be gone within the next week.
I don't know. That's a bold statement.
That's a bold statement.
I honestly, at this point, I think that enough has come to a head with us losing 6 of the last 7 games. Whether or not it's his fault.
5 of the last 6 games.
5 of the last 6. If we lose tonight, it'll be 6 of the last 7. Whether or not I think he should be fired is a completely different issue. I'm still not on the fire McClellan train, but the first person that goes in a situation like this is coach.
But the first person, I honestly believe the first person that should go in a situation like this is Chiarelli.
There's no question in my mind that Chiarelli is screwed
100% Chiarelli. And on that point of Chiarelli, considering that this is sort of it's everywhere kind of situation, I'll guide the topic and add one more. Ryan Spooner is a new Edmonton Oiler now. He got traded for Ryan Strome. Balancing the number of Ryans on our team, because it is a 1-for-1 trade of Ryans. Unfortunately, in terms of numbers, we got 2 more points. That's it. From Ryan Spooner, who is massively struggling. Not to mention the fact that underlying numbers for Ryan Spooner are much, much worse than for Ryan Strome. Which means that very likely Ryan Strome should break out, whereas Ryan Spooner might be what we get.
Wasn't Ryan Spooner, like, his
he put up a 50-point season?
Yeah. Higher. Like, overall, hasn't it been higher in years past? But at the same time, there was a pretty clear indication that he was being carried as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, those underlying numbers with Spooner are pretty atrocious.
He had in his third NHL season, holy shit, he's 26 already. In his third NHL season with the Boston Bruins, he put up 50 points. It seems as though James has been replaced with Flowers. So we'll throw it back there. Sorry. Anyway, 49 points in 80 games. Followed it up with 39. Followed it up with 25. Followed it up with right now. Oh, no, followed it up with 16. Trying to figure out what the number is here. What's 25 plus 16? Quick, Adam, go.
41.
41. Okay, he actually improved then. So 49, 39, 41, and now sitting at 2.
The big draw everyone's talking about is the fact that he has more offensive production. But I think over the terms of their careers, he has like 2 more points than Ryan Strome.
I'll look up numbers.
I don't know if that one was right or not. I'm taking someone's grain of salt in that. So at the same time, Ryan Spooner defensively is notoriously bad, and we're not. I mean, if we're replacing him on a winger on second or third line, second line, okay, fine. You don't necessarily have to be the most defensively responsible forward on the ice, especially when you have Nugent Hopkins covering everyone's ass. But at the same time, if you're putting him on the third or fourth line to produce offense, you have to be able to play solid defensively if you're playing third or fourth line, because that's going to be your role. You're not going to play offensive minutes. You're going to be playing both ways. Ryan Strome was a better two-way player. So essentially what we've done is hoping that Ryan Spooner breaks out offensively while being carried by one of our top 2 lines. And if he doesn't, then he's playing third line or fourth line worse than Ryan Strome would have.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially what this trade is.
Okay, I'm looking up, trying to figure out average time on ice, and no website will tell me, so continue on.
I was going to say, now that if he breaks out and he ends up being a great player, then all for him. But this seems more like a trade for 2 struggling players, and hoping one or if not both of them break out for each respective team.
And I guess in terms of the whole Chiarelli debate, I guess it almost feels as though this has turned into Eberle for Ryan Spooner 1-for-1.
I get that. That was the first thing I thought of too. But unfortunately, you have to look at it more that Chiarelli fucked up with the Eberle trade, and this is him trying to figure out a different situation for the team that we're now in. The first trade shouldn't have happened, but I don't know if it's really fair to say, well, this is the end result of it. But it is. Mm-hmm. But they're separate issues.
Eberle is he's a more highly skilled player than Spooner is for sure, but he's still not exactly lighting the NHL on fire this year.
No. 10 points in 19 games is pretty okay. He has 5 goals, 5 assists, and the Islanders are sitting second in their division.
I know that team performance is good, but I mean, Eberle is on pace for 45 points.
And they have the best goal differential too. Stupid. I don't understand that team at all.
The team doesn't make sense, but Eberle's normally a .75 per games player.
Yeah.
Points per game player. So he's well below his average right now.
Yeah. You could almost attribute that to just the natural decline of a hockey player, but simultaneously he is 28, so it makes sense.
He's 28 already. Holy crap.
Yeah. And on that point, Ryan Strome is 25, and we got older with Ryan Spooner at 26.
Yeah.
It's pretty inconsequential. Pretty much they're identical. On the point of Ryan Spooner's offensive production, we have a guy that definitely produces more points. That is 100% accurate because he has 160 points in 290 games. For a contrast, Ryan Strome has played 60 more games and has 2 more points.
No, yeah. So he has 2 more points, but obviously in a lot less games. A lot more games, sorry.
Yeah. I'll find out more stats in order to make a better comparison, but from the looks of it, I mean, the only thing I could give as an explanation for what's going on is that Ryan Strome got to carry a second line on a very successful New York Islanders team for 1 season and then sort of fell back to earth, whereas Ryan Spooner got to play with Marchand and Bergeron and then fell back to earth. That's it.
So Strome had that second line to himself back in 14-15. He got 50
He was leading. Actually, he was the main catalyst for that second line. Mm-hmm. He was not playing with Tavares. That's a misconception. Yeah.
I was thinking, who else would have been on that line with him? But
I think
Brock Nelson and Josh Bailey, maybe.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Okay, to give you guys an idea in terms of how much he relied on Bergeron and everyone is his Corsi 4 when he's with the Bruins is 60%. It's 61, 62, 57. when he's with the was it New York Rangers and now with the Oilers. No, the Oilers, it's really short. It's just literally a game. But with the New York Rangers, 45%.
Really?
It's still, of course, the relative is positive. So that'll give him a thumbs up for that. But,
15% drop is not great.
And his PDO as of last game is 75. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah, sample size in this a little bit small.
On top of that, like his offensive zone starts was ridiculously high when he was with Boston, and now with Edmonton, he actually had the least amount in that single game. Of course, he's being put into a more defensive role, considering that his defensive zone starts were nearly 60% last game.
That I don't get. Like, for me, that doesn't make sense. In that
contrast.
I was about to say that too.
In 2017, 2018 with Boston Bruins and 2016, 2017, his offensive zone starts respectively are 82% and 72%. He is not a defensive player at all, but he's being played
but if he's playing with offensive talent on the first two lines, he's not going to play defensive pairing minutes. The concerning thing for me is that we've picked up this player gone, it's a 1-for-1 swap, we'll put him in Ryan Strom's spot, which is a defensive role at times, and expect him to play that way, and it's just not who he is.
No, it's not.
Like
that's you got the basic gist of it. It's not. And on that point, like even though it is a 1-for-1 swap, and we did improve offensively for the role and the current production of what kind of player that we have, I don't feel as though, like, I think at best it'll be even.
At best, yeah. Because what indication is there that he would break out offensively? Like, how often does that happen?
If he clicks with McDavid, that's the only, like,
fathomable who doesn't click with McDavid? McDavid just carries everybody to success.
Yeah.
Pat Maroon is, like, playing like ass this year. He's having last time I checked was about 2 weeks ago. He's having a pretty rough season. He was being carried so hard on McDavid. Like it's just becoming a fact of life now that once we pair someone with McDavid, they explode offensively. You pair him with anyone else, and they drop back down to earth.
Yeah.
But I would still say we're missing a Patrick Maroon style player because he still has 7 points.
In how many games?
14.
Yeah. Like again, he had 2 points last time I checked, and I think it was 10.
Yeah, but mind you, I will point out that the Blues as a whole had literally no chemistry, and now they're winning a bunch of games again. So we're about 5 games away from being able to tell where exactly teams are, and from the looks of it, the Oilers, if they keep falling the way that they're falling, it's very likely that. I made a proclamation that, if the Oilers had a good October, they'd make the playoffs. But it's like the Oilers watched this podcast and went, he said this, I'm going to make sure that he's wrong, and have a horrendous November.
They're doing their best.
They're doing their best.
Doing their best. God.
Oh, God. I hate this team.
Good, but
I fucking hate this team.
Every time
fuck, turns
dude.
Around,
Buffalo's sitting in a playoff position. Montreal is sitting in a playoff position.
Ottawa
is 2 points away from a playoff position. But that being said, or 4 points away. But they've played more games than other teams.
Vancouver.
Yeah. Vancouver's sitting in a playoff position.
A rebuilding team is doing better than us, and it's supposed to be our win now season.
Okay.
Like, this is stupid.
To give you an idea about how bad our current situation is, even though the Ducks have played 2 more games than we have, I will accept that, they're sitting above us in the standings, and they lost 7 games in a row this season.
What? Wow.
It
also gives the idea, by the way, that the Pacific Division is horrendously bad.
Yeah.
So even though we're putting up bad performances, do you guys think that we'll make the playoffs? It will never make it through the wild card. Let's throw that out the window. You guys think the possibility exists of us making the playoffs? Perhaps from another just specific being bad perspective?
They got to turn it around like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Vancouver is like free falling. They've lost 4 in a row.
Now, if they can beat their Pacific Division opponents, yeah, they have a chance. Let's be real here. If they literally win their games in division and then amass a couple extra here and there, yeah, they could make it. Purely off the fact that Pacific Division is shit. If they play like they did yesterday, no chance.
On that point of schedules and everything, actually, I'm just gonna twist back and give a little information tidbit for all of you that don't know. Elliot Friedman is the one that covered this, but if you notice, in the past season we had, that gigantic ass break randomly for each team in the middle of the season where they had like 5 days consecutively off. And that was supposed to be their like get better kind of break. GMs agreed and owners agreed, I don't know which one, that it's better off to distribute that in more days and have a shorter break and disperse it for all the teams so it wouldn't be happening for multiple teams at the same time. Because they did that, they made that request really, really late. Add in the fact of existing concerts, international games, and everything. The schedulers basically had to do a lot of compromises. And that's why, like, usually speaking, if we go out on an Eastern Conference road trip, first game that the Eastern Conference team plays will be us, and then the next game that they play will be Calgary. It's not how it's working this season, just because of how that schedule plays out.
Where did you learn that?
Elliot Friedman is 31 Thoughts, I think 2 weeks ago.
Interesting. Okay.
That's just to give you guys an idea about why the schedule is so crazy. It's just because they literally had to change the whole thing and had almost no time and had to come up with a bunch of compromises.
Jesus. Okay. Wow.
We also it's worth noting too that we've already had we had 5 days between games already this season, and we're gonna have another. I think we have another. Our bye week is in. I think it's in February, and we have 6 days between games then too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The bye week didn't work out so well last time.
Anyway, going on to the next topic. I think we sort of touched on this, but I want to get James's opinion on this. The current struggles for the Oilers right now. There's 2 questions. Should the coach go? Will the coach go?
Will the coach go? I could see it happening. Like, if they lose, Adam mentioned this already. Like, if they lose tonight, I don't think he should, but I think he could go. Like, if he gets fired after losing tonight, you know what? Like, I can kind of see it. Like, it's been 3 years, 3+ seasons now, and we have burned through McDavid's entry-level deal. The line blenders that McClellan is famous for are just pissing people off. He can't get anything out of Lucic. Yeah, I could see it happening. But do I want it, or do I think that it should happen? No, honestly, I would probably give him this whole year. But then in the back of my mind too, I know that Glenn Gulletson was probably hired to be his direct replacement,
which is not encouraging.
It's not encouraging at all. To give you guys an idea why it's not encouraging, I think literally speaking, in terms of the fan base right now, it's like the grass is always greener on the other side. What they're seeing is, Coach Q, Quenneville, was just fired about a week ago by the Chicago Blackhawks, who've managed to lose another 3 more games after his firing before they finally stopped a 9-game losing streak. And he's currently without a job. And if you look at it in terms of top 10 coaches for the past 2 decades, 3 names typically come to my mind, personally. 4, actually, I would say. Vigneault, Babcock, Todd McClellan, and Quenneville. So, we could swap out one top 4 coach for another.
Yeah, why would one of them want to come here though?
That's the thing, right? Like, we've gotten to the point now where Peter Chiarelli is running this team into the ground. The players aren't working together. There's no real solution on the horizon. Our prospects aren't really panning out all that well. Why the flying fuck would you come in? And let's be real here. I got here 2 days ago. It's fucking cold here. Like, I forgot how cold the winter is here. Why would you spend 6 months in winter hell with a losing team and a terrible management group when you could take time off and potentially live in Seattle next year or the year after? Or, and he's still getting paid by the Blackhawks for the next 2 seasons. So essentially, he could take a year off from coaching, look at a few options, get paid all the while, and then go work for a brand new team in Seattle with a great fan base and a nice city to live in.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Edmonton's not nice. Let me get that straight. But it just doesn't
outside
make sense.
of the McDavid sell and the McDavid and the Draisaitl sell. There's really nothing here on.
Well, like Klefbom and Larson are good players.
Fantastic.
They're not top end talent.
Huge plummet of a drop off.
Now, like, Evan Bouchard is looking like he's going to be one hell of a fucking player. He's dominating right now. Kyle Yamamoto and Jesse Puljujärvi still potentially good players. Benson and Marody have potentially good players. But we don't have the same kind of management group that can make, trades, contract deals, and stuff like that to put ourselves in a winning position.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as a coach, why, like, every coach wants a challenge. No coach wants an impossible challenge. Right now, this is looking like we're in an impossible situation.
To give you an idea in terms of how ridiculous our situation is, we have about $5 million in cap space. No, less.
Well, Sekera's on the LTIR.
Oh, LTIR, right? Sekera's on LTIR.
Apparently, there's a report that Sekera could be back by Christmas.
Yep.
I
saw a similar report. Yeah. So when Sekera comes back, our salary remaining will be about $400,000.
I was gonna say next to zero. Well, he's not gonna be the same player. Let's be real here. He hasn't played an NHL game since his ACL surgery.
And we have another 2 more years of him. We have another 2 more years of Russell. And how many more years of Lucic? Say it with me now. 1,
4
2,
more years.
3,
4 more
4
years. Chill me.
4 years after this year. Like this year still's got 4 years after this year.
No, he's got 3 years after this year. Right?
Nope.
I'll look up Lucic.
There's a 7-year contract, I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God, you're right.
Oh.
He's got 4 more years. He's 30. He's
now,
playing like this at the age of 30.
I do think Sekera and Russell have an NMC, or Russell's NMC expires at the end of this year, I think.
Yeah, it becomes a limited no trade clause.
So we could potentially move Russell, but Russell hasn't been the problem this year. It's been the whole team. He hasn't been great.
He hasn't been great.
He hasn't been the problem. Like,
I've said this many a times already. My problem with Russell just fundamentally comes down to when I see Russell with the puck by was it the red paint? I always forget the goalie line, whatever it's called.
Crease?
No, the line that goes the one
line?
where if the goalie's no man's land.
Yeah.
The trapezoid?
Trapezoid, yeah. If I see him at the puck at the trapezoid, I just assume it's going to be an offensive chance against.
Well, you know what's been an issue the last 2 games I've noticed too is Darnell fucking Nurse has decided he forgot how he was playing well at the start of the season. He forgot how to play hockey again. He's just throwing the puck anywhere he wants. Dude, use your legs. You're 6 foot fucking 3. You skate better than most defensemen.
I fundamentally believe that Nurse was getting a lot of benefits from playing with Larson last season.
I'm sure it is, but he could show. He showed this year, even last year and this year, that he has the skating potential to skate the puck out himself, or at least make a play with the puck and then make a pass. And he just stopped doing that. I'm not sure if that's Paul Coffey or the defensive group that's decided that they want to try to puck because it's faster that way rather than skating it out, or Nurse has just resorted back to that because the team's losing and that's what he knows best. But it's concerning that one of our best defensive prospects is not thinking through what he's doing before he does it.
And he's 23 now.
He's not a kid anymore.
Like,
he's 23.
He's pretty close to a finished product at this point, I would say.
which is concerning. Like that's
Hmm.
I don't want to rag on Nurse too much because the dude like he works his ass off, and I will say about him is that he never gives up on a play. And he's going to work hard every time, but that's not good enough for the NHL.
Hmm.
Right?
That's fair.
Where do we go from here? Like for you guys, where? Because I'm honestly lost at this point. I don't even know. We can't.
I mean,
What
with
do you
the
make a
cap the way
trade?
it is, it's just there's literally no flexibility. We're doomed.
Like unless you make a big trade. Like unfortunately, I'm starting to think that
I guess
before Shirelli's gone, we could see Nuge traded just because that's $6 million cap gone, and it's
unless let's transition a little bit here. I want to make one quick point before I transition. One of the other reasons that a lot of fans are asking for Shirelli's head is there's now the third news report from a different player no longer with the team, Pakarainen, who pointed out that the management and the coaching staff doesn't work with the players rather than works at the players, if you understand what I'm talking about when I say that. Whereas Quenneville is very much a player's coach kind of coach. That being said, we have brought on many legends before on this team that are players' coaches, and that has not worked. So long as your players are not great, it does not matter, as far as I'm concerned, how good the coach you bring in is in terms of a player's coach or not a player's coach. Unless you're having an anomaly of a season like the Islanders are having, or the Canucks before their monumental series of losses. Um,
well. So on that note,
mhm.
with McClellan in particular, I know Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau both came out and said that he doesn't like talking to players. Oh, V2 said the same thing, and then now I think it was Slepyshev. I'm not sure if it was Packard and Slepyshev, but one of them came out and said that. But I know V2 and Slepyshev both mentioned that. Yeah, Chiarelli also didn't talk to the players. Like they would talk to
Mhm.
them like once or twice a year. Again, how can you have a management group running a
It's an
team
old boys
properly?
club, dude.
Like it's that's the big issue, right? Like has it come down to the fact that I tried to put it on my mind, and I know you guys know me well enough at this point. We've been doing this 3 years.
Yeah.
We were worried 3 years ago that the Old Boys Club was still around,
Mm-hmm.
and then we kind of got a bit better. I put it on my mind a little bit. I'm almost starting. It's bleeding back a little bit. Like, are they still having a big role in the team than they're letting on?
It's a misconception with what it means with an old boys club. As far as I'm concerned, in terms of the definition of old boys club, it's playing a jerk off style of hockey where whenever you're doing well, you're going like, oh, everything works, and whenever everything's going badly, you're going, oh, we need to solve this with the right kind of player, not in terms of skill
Players.
necessarily, but in terms of, the X factor that they bring. Unfortunately, that was the mentality in when replacing Taylor Hall with Lucic. That was the mentality when bringing on Russell, re-signing him. That was the mentality in terms of trading away Eberle for, excuse me, a far inferior player who was slightly better defensively.
Well, Griffin Reinhardt, he played the right way
Okay, look,
in the Elkins.
Griffin Reinhardt trade is so monumentally bad that, you know what, like you could make the argument that the Bob Green is the one that led him astray on that one. But that being said, at the end of the day, you don't trade away a 16th that turned into Matthew Barzell and a 33rd for a guy that was regressing in the AHL. That was just the wrong move at the end of the day. Anyway, jumping back to it, let's transition here so we just conclude. We are almost at the quarter season point where we're basically like 1 or 2 games away, so might as well do our quarter season review. But we won't do our super long one; it'll be super short. So I have 3 to 4 questions for y'all. Who needs to improve? Who will improve? And who might get worse? So I'm going to
Yeah.
start with who needs to improve. James.
I don't want to go with the easy answer of Lucic, so I will go. I will say Puljujärvi.
Mm.
The team is banking, like the team is depending on him. Honestly, I mean, fourth overall draft pick. He's got the size, the raw talent is definitely there. I just, I think I said this to you guys before, but I just see like shades of Yakupov in terms of lack of in-game intelligence. So Puljujarvi is my pick. The team really needs him to step up.
Adam?
We need to see Oscar Klefbom up 2 years ago. I know the guy's gone through a lot of injury issues. I know he played well to start the season, but we need him to be our rock on defense. And along with Larson, he's not putting pucks on net. He's not skating the puck out of the zone. He's not producing offensive talent the way we need him to. Our defensive core is not strong enough for Oscar Klefbom and Adam Larson to be average. We need them to be above average. I'll even throw Donald Nurse in there. He needs to be better. And I mean, I could also say Talbot and Koskinen. Cam Talbot has.
Don't take mine. Don't take many players.
It's all right. I'll stop. We could go through a long list, but for me, it starts for me with the three big guys in defense in Klefbom, Larson, and Nurse.
Cam Talbot. That is my player. The reason he is my player is because his save percentage last season was .908. His save percentage at 13 games played is below 900 at .895. The Oilers are allowing an astronomical number of shots against. That is true. They're allowing more shots than they should. They're allowing a lot of high danger shots. That is true. But a 3.09 and a .895 save percentage, both are pathetic numbers, especially from a starting goaltender. Throw it over to Koskinen. He started off fantastic. I will sing praises for how well he started. But for a guy in 7 games played, 7 games started, mind you, and that started with a shutout, his numbers have decreased so much that he's almost at a 9. His save percentage is still fairly good. I'll give him that. It's a .917. But his goals against average is closely inching up to that 3. And then the other player that I have that I think needs to improve greatly, I'm not going to put anything on Klefbom. Klefbom's a single man, I think. He already plays like 25 minutes a night. Last 5 games, he played 25 minutes each and every single game. Honestly, at this point, I think it's ridiculous the number of minutes he's playing. And I just think he's just being stymied a little bit because he just can't buy a goal to save his life. But Nurse needs to get better. It's as simple as that. Like, Nurse was our reliable number 3 defenseman. When a 31 or 32 now year-old defenseman is outplaying you to become the 3rd best defenseman on the team in Patrick Russell. Patrick?
Chris,
thank you. We have a Patrick Russell now. I get confused. Chris Russell. I honestly question, I honestly think that perhaps this is the player that we're going to have for the next 5-6 years in terms of a player where he's a 4-5 defenseman and a 3 when he has a good game. James?
Yeah, well, like I said, I think we're pretty close to seeing a finished product here from Nurse.
Yeah.
Like you said, what is he, 23, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like defensemen develop,
slower. But usually you see their best seasons at 24, 25.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like it's not out of the realm of possibility that this is who he is. And I don't see him as a 5. I see him as a 3-4.
Yeah.
I see him as a second line.
And to add to this, I think now Draisaitl is always an enigma to me because it always feels as though that he needs to be put with McDavid in order to become a really effective player. But I hate saying this because he's already like second in like point production in the league, all of the league right now. But McDavid can get better, and you know the McDavid that we saw to start the season is not necessarily McDavid we're seeing now, where he doesn't like. It feels as though he doesn't want the puck on his stick all the time. You know, it's fair, it's good, but when your best wingers that you have available to you, outside of Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins, of course, is Lucic, Ty Ratty, Kajula.
Drake Kajula, yeah.
Who else? Who else is the boy wonder?
Chiasson.
Yeah, Chiasson, yeah. Like whenever they have an offensive zone cycle and I see one of that third player get the puck, I just assume it's a turnover.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say there.
I don't know if that's on McDavid, but
no, honestly,
team build-up.
It's really not on McDavid, but if we're gonna have a chance with the season, he needs to get better. It's more of a need than a will. That's all I'll say. And on that point, who will get better, James?
Who will get better?
Y'all want me to start this one?
I can go.
All right, go.
I honestly think Cam Talbot will improve. He's a notoriously slow starter. He's played very well towards the end of the season. Unfortunately, last year was when it didn't matter anymore. But going into the playoffs 2 years ago, he was on a hot streak and then went ballistic in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I think Cam Talbot in the next 2 to 3 weeks will return to the Cam Talbot we need him to be. Whether or not that's too late is entirely up to Cam Talbot of tonight and the team of the next 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. But I think Cam Talbot around Christmas will improve drastically.
I'll jump in with my next the players that I think will improve. I think Bouchard will get better. We were talking about the NHL team. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I was, in my culture, a joke, if you will.
Okay.
No way.
You need to work on that, bud.
I'm great with my timing. Anyway, in terms of players that'll actually like get better. Like I can see Clefbaum, all his underlying numbers are there. It's just literally the puck is not going in for him. Like I've seen like top 10 saves of the week whenever he shoots the puck. It's just a matter of luck, and he's playing 25 minutes. He's playing honestly the best hockey in terms of general hockey that I've ever seen him play. But unfortunately, the team around him sucks. I think his numbers will get better. It's just a matter of will the team follow suit. That being said, his numbers are just on pace with career averages. He should finish off at around 30 points this season, which is fairly good. Okay for a top 2 defenseman.
Clefbaum was going to be my pick as well. I've got faith. I mean, the offensive output needs to be a little bit more. Mm-hmm. A couple of goals would be nice, but I mean, the guy is crunching 25 minutes a night. Like, the talent is there. He's a rock.
Holy shit. I'm looking at the point total. Sorry, I'm looking at the point totals of our team, and I'm just like completely unimpressed. 27 points for McDavid, 21 points for Draisaitl, 18 points for Nugent Hopkins. The next best player is a tie between Chiasson and Clefbaum at 8.
Yeah.
18-8.
Yeah. We have no.
And then Tobias Reeder, and then Adam Larson with 7. What the frick? How are forwards not scoring more than Adam Larson? Adam Larson is not an offensive juggernaut, even in the slightest, and he's outperforming guys like even Kajula.
Yeah.
He's outperforming Kyra. He's outperforming Lucic.
Everyone needs performing Kyra this year, man.
Kyra needs to be better. I love
Kyra needs to be better.
But he's been.
My biggest problem with the fourth line is that they are a defensive black hole, like to the level where they will make like straight up basic mistakes that lead to goals against.
Yeah,
I've believed honestly, like even in that goal where that game where Brodziak scored the 2 goals, Um, like 2 of the goals against for us were because of a mistake by Jujhar Khaira and a mistake by Brodziak that led to goals against immediately. Like, even though they had a good game, it's just they cost games as well. And in terms of who I think will get worse, because that's a very true category, is you have to remember that Tobias Rieder and Chiasson, they haven't managed to stick on very many NHL rosters. And even if this is a redemption arc for them, right now they are outperforming their career expectations. And both have been, historically speaking, outside of, I know Rieder included, notoriously streaky. And they should get worse. And that brings me to my last question. Who should get worse?
Who should get worse? God, that's a pretty short list. In terms of goal scoring output, I mean, Alex Chiasson is like
7 goals.
Yeah, 7 goals in 13 games. That is not going to continue the whole year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
going to throw another name on here, just really quick. Nugent Hopkins, just because he's not playing with McDavid anymore. That's it. That's literally the only reason. He also has to get the shitty wingers that McDavid, basically the shitty wingers that would be a 4th line winger on any other team.
Yeah, Chiasson, I think is still my GOAT. Unfortunately, because I don't know.
No, we are saying that they should get worse, not that they will get worse.
Yeah. Now Chiasson will get worse. He's not going to produce a 0.5 goals per game.
Yeah, you've seen him, right? Like with Ottawa, because he's notoriously streaky. He's stupidly streaky.
He would essentially score for 3 or 4 straight games and then
disappear off the face of the planet.
I mean, that's basically Pat Maroon last year. Same kind of thing. But yeah. Anyway, now the concerning thing for me is I think Lucic is actually playing pretty well for him.
And he has 5 points.
Yeah, because he's like yesterday he looked engaged in the first period.
You're saying that he should get worse?
I don't think he can get much worse, but I don't think he's gonna get any better. I think he's just gonna stagnate.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if because you can't play much worse than he's played this year. 5 points in what we're at games 18. And you can't. Yeah, I don't know.
And in terms of questions, in terms of who needs to be no longer on the team, Zach Kassian.
Oh, Cat, yeah.
Easy.
You know what? At this point, Jujhar Khaira, for me, he needs to either be back in the AHL or he needs to be kicking the ass or sit for a few games.
Pathetic.
He's been useless. I love the guy. He's useless right now.
Yeah. He's putting up like 8 minutes a night.
The thing with Kassian, like he's got his internal demons, but I would say this is probably his last year in the NHL. He's signed for next year, but I think
what a great signing that was. We're paying 1.15. We're paying 1.51 million or 1.5-ish million dollars for a guy that has 1 point in 16 games, a single goal.
I think he'll be gone after this season, either traded somehow or just bought out.
Yeah. Adam, I'm assuming it's the very same, unless you believe that Gravel is the bigger target.
No, I think Kassian. Gravel's been like.
It's been pretty bad.
He's been there. Honest. He hasn't been very good. He's been pretty shit. But
I honestly think V2 would have been better than Gravel.
Yeah, me too. Zach Kassian. Probably should not be on the team. You could argue Jake Kajula, but he's been all right, I guess. Like he's not my favorite player. I think he's overhyped by a lot of Oilers fans.
Overhyped by a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot of fans that are starting to come around, I think, and realize that he can't even produce like David right now. He hasn't been good enough. Like,
you saying Kajula?
No. I'm saying that like, Kajula's not my favorite player, but I think a lot of people are starting to come around to realize that. But I still think Zach Cassian doesn't need to be on the team anymore. Unfortunately.
And then final couple names in terms of callouts. Ty Ratty can be better. It's unfortunate that he's not playing better. It's just unfortunate. That's it.
I'm wondering how much his injury kind of had to do with this, because he missed a good number of games.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
So
anyway,
Kajula, but yeah.
At the same time, I will 100% state, even though everything in this cast is super depressing, we had a fantastic October. There's definitely a lot of capacity in this team, as streaky as it is, to win games. It is very much possible, considering that we are only a handful of points with less games played outside of a playoff position, that we can be in a playoff position. To give you an idea, we are I'm looking at points. We are 3 points away from a playoff position, and we have played 3 less games than Vancouver.
Yeah.
We win 2 of those, we're in a playoff
Everything
position.
seems...
It just seems like we've lost so many winnable games already.
Yeah. I mean, even the Panthers game is stupid. Like, we caught the Panthers when they were on their 6-game winning streak, and now they've lost 2 in a row.
Like...
Right? Anyway. My biggest fear in all of this is the only reason Arizona is as low as it is in the standings is because right now, who's their goaltender again? I always forget his name.
Antti Ranta.
Ranta right now is injured and has been for about 6-7 games. So they have to rely on the Jekyll and Hyde goaltending that is Darcy Kemper. And if they string together some wins, I honestly think their roster, top to from very top to bottom, outside of McDavid and Draisaitl, is better than ours. And I think they have a higher likelihood of taking that 3rd spot. Because right now, as far as I'm concerned, San Jose is an absolute lock. They're making the playoffs. Calgary is a very likely lock because they fixed their problems in terms of depth scoring. And even though Noah Hannafin's not scoring any, Giordano is filling in that hole very, very well. And they don't really have much problems as a team. They're playing fairly well, and they've strung together a lot of losses. They're 6-3-1. But at the end of the day, the Oilers can't even get a loss in overtime or in a shootout. They are just losing straight up in regulation. 6 games, outscored 21-8. Or 5 games, outscored 21-8. And no, at the end of the day, that's not enough to make the playoffs. But that being said, I do think we will be potential contenders as the months progress. I still think we won't make the playoffs and we'll be sitting outside. And that's my final thoughts, unless you guys have anything else to add.
I think that's it.
Yeah, there's definitely a silver lining in all of this, because as much as this sucks, hopefully, this is enough to get Chiarelli fired. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been...
I will say before we go, game tonight, predictions, score.
Vegas is a weird one. Vegas has ridiculously good underlying numbers, like 2nd in the league for underlying numbers. Only worse than San Jose, and I think slightly worse than Carolina at this point. And for some bizarre reason, they're just not picking up any wins. And they are off of, I think, back-to-back wins. Double check. No, I'm wrong. They're off of a loss. But they have the same record as us in the past 10 games, 4-6. And are we playing them home or...
We're at home.
Pardon?
It's at home.
So Edmonton, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they have a losing record in away games. They're 3-8 in away games. So very high likelihood we win that.
I think
we win. Yeah, I think we win 4-2 today.
4-2, James.
If anyone has any extra tickets, hit me up. I'm in the rink. Yeah.
Freaking expensive. Good luck with that, James.
Yeah. No.
I'll say 3-0.
3-0 for who?
For Edmonton.
For Edmonton. I'll be the contrarian. I think Pacioretty breaks out and scores a hat trick. And I'm gonna call it 6-4 final score for Vegas.
All right.
Anyway, I mean, are you really expecting an Oilers goaltender to not allow at least 4 goals?
It's true.
Anyway, this has been Arun, otherwise known as Arunatic5, with me today with Shweet, otherwise known as Adam, and Paul-McCartney, otherwise known as James. Thank you very much for joining us in the podcast today. Apologize for the inconsistent timing, and we should be back to our regular bi-weekly schedule, perhaps even with casts altogether. Anyway, if you liked our cast or you found yourself, disagreeing, please do comment. Anyway, other than that, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next time.